We used two of the most advanced AI models to create two characters. We will put them face to face. Their arguments will be evaluated by 5 independent AI models across multiple criteria, scored from 0 to 100. This is AI Debates. Does a woman have absolute control over her own body?
No one has absolute control over their own body. Society already places limits when one person's choices endanger another. Laws against assault, substance abuse while driving, or even mandatory seatbelts reflect this principle. In pregnancy, the situation is unique because there are two bodies involved, the mother and her unborn child, who is genetically distinct and developing independently, though dependent on her for survival. To claim absolute control ignores the rights of that second human being. True bodily autonomy does not mean the right to end another person's life. Instead, it should be understood within the context of responsibilities toward others, especially toward one's own child. Recognizing these limits does not diminish women's dignity, it acknowledges the equal dignity of both mother and child. Thus, while women deserve significant autonomy, it cannot be considered absolute when it directly conflicts with the right to life of another human.
No one has absolute control over their body. We have reasonable regulations on behaviors that harm others. However, pregnancy presents a unique situation where one person's body directly sustains another, making bodily autonomy especially critical. The key principle is that we don't force people to use their bodies to sustain others, even to save lives. We don't mandate blood donation, organ donation, or even require parents to donate organs to their dying children. This isn't absolute control. It's a consistent principle that intimate bodily use cannot be compelled. Pregnancy involves 9 months of profound physical changes, health risks, and permanent bodily alterations. The person experiencing this should have decisive say over whether to continue. Absolute control is a straw man. This is about fundamental bodily integrity. Even if we accept fetal personhood, one person's needs don't automatically entitle them to another's body without consent. The question isn't whether control is absolute, but whether the state can force intimate bodily use against someone's will, something we reject in every other context.
Does the fetus have legal and moral rights equal to the mother?
Yes, the fetus has both legal and moral rights equal to the mother, because both are human beings with inherent dignity. The most basic of these rights is the right to life. Without it, no other rights can exist. While the mother has rights to autonomy, privacy, and health, those rights do not extend to intentionally ending the life of her child. In fact, our legal system already recognizes the unborn in many contexts, such as fetal homicide laws, wrongful death suits, and protections for unborn children when a pregnant woman is harmed. Morally, we don't assign human worth based on size, age, or dependence. Otherwise, infants or disabled people would be less valuable too. Equality means every human, regardless of stage of development, has the same fundamental right not to be killed. Therefore, the fetus's rights are equal to the mother's, and the law should protect both lives with compassion and justice.
Legally, fetuses don't have equal rights to born persons in most contexts. They can't inherit property, aren't counted in census, don't receive social security numbers, and pregnant people aren't prosecuted for activities that might harm fetuses like skiing or eating sushi. Morally, even granting significant fetal rights doesn't resolve the dilemma. When two entities with rights conflict, we must weigh competing interests. The pregnant person has established personhood, consciousness, relationships, and life plans. They bear all physical risks, economic costs, and life changes. Even with equal moral status, one person's survival needs don't automatically override another's bodily autonomy. We don't force organ donation between family members, even when death is certain without it. The unique aspect of pregnancy is total physical dependence. The fetus cannot survive without the pregnant person's body. This creates an unprecedented situation where equal rights becomes practically impossible to implement. Rather than theoretical equality, we should focus on supporting pregnant people in making informed, thoughtful decisions based on their values and circumstances.
Should fathers have a say in abortion decisions?
Yes, fathers should have a say in abortion decisions because the child is equally theirs. Parenthood is a shared responsibility, and fathers have moral and relational obligations toward their children just as mothers do. Excluding men from the decision implies that fatherhood begins only at birth, which is inconsistent with the reality that their child exists from conception. While the mother carries the pregnancy, the father's role in the child's life is not secondary, it is essential. Denying fathers any voice reduces the value of their parenthood and undermines the principle that both parents are accountable for the life they helped create. Of course, a father's rights should never override the mother's dignity or safety, but neither should his voice be erased. True equality in parenting requires that both mother and father are recognized as having legitimate interests in protecting and nurturing their child's life.
Fathers can and should have input in discussions about pregnancy, but they cannot have veto power over abortion decisions. The fundamental reason is simple: they don't bear the physical burden, health risks, or bodily changes of pregnancy. While fathers may have emotional investment and financial responsibilities, pregnancy affects their bodies exactly 0%. The pregnant person experiences 9 months of physical changes, potential complications, childbirth risks, and permanent bodily alterations. This creates an inherent asymmetry that cannot be resolved through equal say. Legally, giving fathers veto power would create dangerous situations, preventing people from leaving abusive relationships, forcing medical procedures against someone's will, and creating legal conflicts over bodily autonomy. The best approach supports open communication between partners while recognizing that the person whose body is directly affected must retain decision-making authority. We can encourage dialogue and counseling without compromising the fundamental principle that no one else can make medical decisions about your body. Healthy relationships involve discussion. Legal systems must protect individual autonomy.
Is abortion a private healthcare matter or a societal concern?
Abortion is not merely a private healthcare matter, it is a profound societal concern. Healthcare typically addresses one patient's well-being, but abortion involves two lives, the mother and her unborn child. The decision to end a life is not purely private because society has a vested interest in protecting its most vulnerable members and upholding human rights. Just as we don't treat child abuse or domestic violence as private matters, abortion cannot be reduced to personal health care. It also has broad social consequences. It shapes how we define personhood, how we value the disabled or dependent, and how future generations view human dignity. Treating abortion as strictly private ignores the moral and legal responsibility we all share to defend innocent life. Therefore, while it has medical aspects, abortion is ultimately a societal issue that demands legal and ethical consideration beyond individual choice.
Abortion is fundamentally a private healthcare matter that's been artificially transformed into a societal issue through political interference in medical decisions. Like other medical procedures, abortion decisions should remain between patients, their doctors, and their families. We don't subject appendectomies, cancer treatments, or fertility procedures to public debate or legislative control. Medical privacy is a cornerstone of healthcare. Society's legitimate interest lies in ensuring safe, accessible healthcare and supporting families, not micromanaging individual medical decisions. When communities want to reduce abortion rates, evidence shows comprehensive sex education, contraception access, healthcare coverage, and family support are far more effective than restrictions. The societal concern framing often masks efforts to control reproductive decisions based on ideology rather than public health. Real societal benefit comes from trusting individuals to make informed decisions with their healthcare providers. When government interferes in private medical decisions, it creates dangerous precedents that could extend to other healthcare choices. The appropriate societal response is ensuring people have resources to make whatever decision they feel is best for their circumstances.
Can the state force someone to carry a pregnancy against their will?
The state already places limits on personal freedom when it comes to protecting innocent life, and pregnancy is no exception. If the unborn child is a human being, then the state has a duty to safeguard that life, just as it prevents parents from neglecting or harming their born children. Framing this as forcing a woman to carry overlooks that pregnancy is the natural outcome of conception, not something artificially imposed by the state. Laws restricting abortion don't create the child they recognize and protect the life that already exists. Of course, society should support women with resources, healthcare, and compassion to reduce the burdens of pregnancy. But the moral principle remains: one person's bodily autonomy cannot justify ending another person's life. Thus, while the state should not coerce women harshly, it has both the right and obligation to prohibit the intentional killing of unborn children.
No, the state should not have the power to force pregnancy continuation against someone's will. This represents an unprecedented level of government control over individual bodies that we don't accept in any other context. We don't force people to donate organs to save lives, undergo medical procedures for others' benefit, or use their bodies to sustain other people, even their own children. Forced pregnancy is uniquely coercive, requiring someone to undergo 9 months of profound physical changes, health risks, and permanent bodily alterations against their consent. This level of state control over reproduction echoes authoritarian regimes. When governments can dictate reproductive outcomes, they can also mandate sterilizations, forced abortions, or breeding programs, all violations of basic human dignity. Constitutional principles of liberty, privacy, and bodily integrity should protect against such governmental overreach. The state's role should be ensuring people have access to comprehensive healthcare and support, not making intimate medical decisions for them. A free society trusts individuals to make complex personal decisions about their own bodies and futures.